Of CMG preparing myself, my family, and the company for the sale process, it was a lot more than I thought. There was the due diligence process, frankly, was completely overwhelming. The tech audit and the quality of earnings and the human capital analysis. And I think they did an amazing job of kind of compartmentalizing each of those areas and making sure that I understood why some of the questions from the potential buyer was being asked, as well as how to assign value to each of those particular areas. I think just education of the process for me was so important. And I think CMG did a remarkable job in that regard. During the process, I think the biggest things that I didn't anticipate or expect was it was way more intense. You know, Carter Morse told me that it was going to be an emotional experience. I think they described it as a 6-month colonoscopy, if memory serves me correctly. And that was a pretty good analogy, to be honest with you. It was an emotional roller coaster, up and down. One day we were in sync with the buyer. The next day there was a disagreement. One time they had to put the pens down. It was really, really, really intense. And at sometimes, frankly, exhausting. But it was really, really important that I had that mentor over my shoulder. And I think Carter Morse did an amazing job in that regard as well. The process took somewhere between 4 to 6 months. Once we kind of narrowed our focus on a specific buyer. And that included several meetings, several Zooms, a lot of conversations with the C-suite staff, information about different customers and looking at contracts. It was about the time frame that was shared with me, but within that time frame, there was a lot that was packed in. So in terms of educating or informing my C-suite or some of the key employees into the discussion about potentially selling, that was a really, really challenging area for me personally, because on the one hand, these are people that have helped you build the business, enhance the brand, and that you share your secrets when you're there late into the evenings, putting together, warding off the competition. And all of a sudden, when I made the decision, there's this kind of weird emotional vibe where you feel like there's a little disconnect. And so my decision was to engage them early in the process, let them know, and make sure that who I was contemplating bringing as a partner was someone that they would feel comfortable with. And honestly, if they didn't, I would probably not have gone forward. So for me, I brought the key employees in early in the process. They made presentations, whether it was the CFO or the CHRO, or whether it was the sales team or the CTO, each one of those individuals was engaged in the process. And I thought it to be incredibly valuable because afterwards we debriefed and said, how do you guys feel about these potential buyers? And overall, I think the way that we attacked that process worked out really well for us. In terms of working with CMG, I think the most valuable part of working with the people from Carter Morse was just educating me on the process. When you're a first-time seller, I'm a first-time seller. I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I stayed in this business for 25 years. I started it not with the idea of selling it and making generational wealth, but really because I believed in the mission. And so having them there to help me manage the process, lead the negotiations, sometimes tell me not what I wanted to hear, but what I really needed to hear, very, very important in that process. And just making sure that I never lost sight of the true goals of what we were attempting to do. And I think really important that they were there 24/7. I would sometimes call the team at 10 o'clock at night, early in the morning when I had a thought or I needed to be talked off the ledge. They were really, really important. I think that was the most valuable part of working with CMG. In terms of the surprising sources of value that didn't really impact the purchase price, I wanted to make sure that my extended family, my C-suite team was really taken care of. You know, you don't build an organization without really smart people that complement your respective skills and strengths. And it was really important to me to make sure that I knew that they were in good hands and that the plan for Series B and other staff incentives was in place. So finding a good home for my C-suite and the management team was really, really important to me, and making sure that that transition happened smoothly and transparently for them. And I didn't really realize, you know, how was it going to go down or how would I feel about it? But in hindsight, I think if you take care of your staff and you make sure that they're engaged in the process, they would appreciate it more. And I think it will speak better for the next iteration of whatever I built. I want that to go on in my legacy to continue. And I want them to kind of take it from a skateboard to a bicycle to a Chevrolet to a Maserati. And I think we're prepared to do that.